Shana Tova, everybody. I'm Rabbi Rachel Zarin, and from my home to your home, I'm delighted to welcome you to our second day of Rosh Hashanah BaBayit. I'll be joined later today by Rabbi Michael Fell, Cantor Brian Mayer, Ronnie Gutton, and on behalf of all of us and the entire staff of Temple Emanu-El in Providence, Rhode Island, we all want to wish you a Shana Tova. I'm ready here in my talit and my kittel, the special white gown that we wear for the High Holy Days. I have my handouts of my machzor and my special activities that came in my Yom Tov holiday kit, and I hope you have those handy too. And now I'm going to pass things over to Ronnie Gutton, who's going to help all of us set up our sacred spaces, our mikdash ma'at, our miniature sanctuary at home, to prepare us for the rest of our service.
Shana Tova, everybody. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to set up a place for me and, in fact, some members of my family to pray together at home. It's customary to look towards east, towards Jerusalem, and I am going to set up my mizrach so that we can enjoy praying in the same direction. And you know what else? It helps us think about all of the other people who are doing exactly the same thing we are today. So this is my mizrach. You have the opportunity to create one right in your bag. Shana Tova.
Normally we would begin our service with two warm-up sections. Birchot HaShachar, blessings of the dawn, helping us recognize things for which we are grateful for, those everyday miracles we often take for granted, followed by Psuke de Zimra, songs of praise that help us get in the right mindset for our service. We have a lot to do today and our time is precious, so we don't have time for Birchot HaShachar or Psuke de Zimra, but instead I want to invite you to take one moment to think of one thing for which you're grateful for, and one thing for which you want to offer thanks or praise. Hold that thought in your mind, put your hand on your heart, and take a deep breath with me. I hope that quick warm-up helps you get ready for our Shachari portion of the service, one of the most important parts of our service. Will be led by Cantor Brian Mayer in the Shema and the V'ahavta.
And now we'll chant the Shema and V'ahavta. And we cover our eyes for these most important first 6 words of the Shema to block out any distractions that may be in the room. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך.
Normally, in the services for grown-ups, now is when they would read from the Torah, but I'm going to read to you a story. And this happens to be my favorite story to read on Rosh Hashanah. And it's called The Empty Pot, and I hope you'll like it. A long time ago in China, there was a boy named Ping who loved flowers. Anything he planted burst into bloom. Up came flowers and bushes and even big fruit trees, as if by magic. Everyone in the kingdom loved flowers too. They planted them everywhere, and the air smelled like perfume. The emperor loved birds and animals, but flowers most of all, and he tended his own garden every day. But the emperor was very old. He needed to choose a successor to the throne. Who would his successor be? And how would the emperor choose? Because the emperor loved flowers so much, he decided to let the flowers choose. The next day, a proclamation was issued. All the children in the land were to come to the palace. There they would be given special flower seeds by the emperor. Whoever can show me their best in a year's time, he said, will succeed me to the throne. The news created great excitement throughout the land. Children from all over the country swarmed to the palace to get their flower seeds. All the parents wanted their children to be chosen emperor, and all the children hoped they would be chosen too. When Ping received his seed from the emperor, he was the happiest child of all. He was sure he could grow the most beautiful flower. Ping filled a flower pot with rich soil. He planted the seed in it very carefully. He watered it every day. He couldn't wait to see it sprout and grow and blossom into a beautiful flower. Day after day passed, but nothing grew in his pot. Ping was very worried. He put new soil into a bigger pot. Then he transferred the seed into the rich black soil. Another 2 months he waited, and still nothing happened. By and by, the whole year passed. Finally, spring came, and all the children put on their best clothes to greet the emperor. They rushed to the palace with their beautiful flowers, eagerly hoping to be chosen. But Ping was ashamed of his empty pot. He thought the other children would laugh at him because for once he couldn't get a flower to grow. His clever friend ran by, holding a great big plant. "Ping," he said, "you're not really going to the emperor with an empty pot, are you? Couldn't you grow a great big flower like mine?" "I've grown lots of flowers better than yours," Ping said. It's just this seed that won't grow." Ping's father overheard this and said, "You did your best, and your best is good enough to present to the emperor." Holding the empty pot in his hands, Ping went straight away to the palace. The emperor was looking at the flowers slowly, one by one. How beautiful all the flowers were! But the emperor was frowning and did not say a word. Finally, he came to Ping. Ping hung his head in shame, expecting to be punished. The emperor asked him, "Why do you bring an empty pot?" Ping started to cry and replied, "I planted the seed that you gave me, and I watered it every day, but it didn't sprout. I put it in a bigger pot with better soil, and it still didn't sprout. I tended to it all year long, but nothing grew. So today I had to bring an empty pot without a flower. It was the best I could do." When the emperor heard these words, a smile slowly spread over his face, and he put his arm around Ping. And then he exclaimed to one and all, "I have found him! I have found the one person worthy of being emperor. Where you got your seeds from, I do not know, for the seeds I gave you all had been cooked, so it was impossible for any of them to grow. I admire Ping's great courage to appear before me with the empty truth, and now I reward him with my entire kingdom and make him emperor of all the land." My friends, I love this story because the idea of this story is that as long as we try our best, as long as we try to be the best version of ourselves, that's all God can ask of us. And so our goal on this Rosh Hashanah is to really ask ourselves, have I been the best person I could be? Did I really do my best? And if the answer is no, if the answer is that there are times we could have been more patient, maybe we could have been more kind, maybe we could have used our words in nicer ways, then it means we just have to try a little harder in the new year. And I know that I always wasn't my best, and I'm going to try harder in the new year, and I hope that you will also.
After the Torah service comes Musaf. Musaf literally means extra or additional. And that is what this service is. It's an additional section that we add on to our daily prayers that is special for Shabbat and for holidays. But on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the Musaf service does not feel like an extra or an add-on. In fact, it feels like the main event. The Rosh Hashanah Musaf service is made up of 3 special sections. Malchuyot, or sovereignty, where we declare God as ruler over the whole world. Zichronot, remembrances, where we ask God to remember the deeds of the world. And shofarot, that one hopefully explains itself, where we remember the blasts of the shofar and ask God to pay attention to those blasts too. Each of those 3 sections is made up of 3 parts. A prayer that opens up the section, 10 verses from the Tanakh, made up of verses from the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms, and then closing prayers and blasts of the shofar. We're going to do highlights from each of those 3 sections, starting with Malchuyot, with the Grand Aleinu, a prayer that we're used to reciting every Shabbat morning, but that originally began in the Rosh Hashanah service and will be led by Cantor Meir.
There are many ways that we show respect. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we stand, we put our hands over our hearts. When we're at a baseball game, we rise for the singing of the national anthem and we remove our hats. When a soldier is in front of a commanding officer, the soldier salutes. And as Jews, when we show respect to God, we bow. Every day of the year, we close our prayers with Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol. And then we get to the part where we bow and we go, Anachnu koreim, we bend our knees, umishtachavim, and we bend at the waist, umodim, and then we stand up. But on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we show that respect in a deeper, larger, more complete way. I'll show you what I mean. The Grand Aleinu, the Great Aleinu that we say on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur happens from a standing position all the way down to the floor. So I'm sitting on the floor now. I'm going to stand up and demonstrate how this is done. And you'll notice I'm going to be singing it to a special, majestic, royal melody. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol. And here comes the bow. V'anachnu. Now I bend my knees. Korim umishtachavim. Now I'm bowing all the way to the floor. Umodim lifnei melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what I just sang was that we do this bending of the knee and bowing all the way to the ground, Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim, in front of the one who rules the entire universe, the Holy One. Blessed be God.
Each special section of the Rosh Hashanah Musaf service invites us to think about different questions. I hope that you all received your Yom Tov holiday bags. And inside those bags is a sheet of journal prompts that will help you reflect on the questions that the Rosh Hashanah Musaf service invites us to consider. Now, traditionally, we don't write on Rosh Hashanah, but this is also an opportunity to engage in family conversation. So I invite you to sit down with your family. Now that we have recited the key prayer for the Malchuyot section about God's sovereignty, Aleinu, I invite you to sit down with your family and ask, what are the values that you want to crown as sovereign, king or queen, in the coming year? Pause this video, take a few minutes to discuss that question as a family. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll move on to the next section of the Musaf service.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Shvarim, 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 Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah Gedolah.
After the sounding of the shofar, we conclude each section of the Musaf service with a special prayer, a Reshet Sifatenu, asking God to listen to our prayers. We sing, "May the words of our lips be pleasing to you, exalted God, who listens, discerns, considers, and attends to the sound of our shofar blast." When we get to that word, shofar blast, Tekiatenu, we sing it in a special way to make our voices sound like the shofar. We end the prayer by singing, "Lovingly accept our prayerful offering, proclaiming your sovereignty." We sing this prayer 3 times, changing only the last word to match the name of the section of each service that we have just completed. I invite you to sing along with me. And if you have a little trouble getting it this time, the good news is you'll have 2 more chances at the end of the Zichronot section and the Shofarot section to sing it again. Reshet Sifatenu Ya'arav Lefanecha El Ram V'Nisa. Reshet Sifatenu Ya'arav Lefanecha El Ram V'Nisa. Mevin uma'azin ma'abit u'makshiv lekol tekiah. Tekiatenu utkabel berachamim uvratzon seder malchuyotenu. After the Malchuyot section comes the Zichronot section, where we ask God to remember us. We call upon God not only to remember us, but to remember the acts and the deeds and the experiences of our ancestors, all the people who came before us. And so we recite these 3 special verses from the Torah, asking God to remember 3 particularly important moments in our people's story. Vayizkor Elohim et Noach. God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God caused a wind to blow across the earth, and the waters subsided. V'ne'emar vayishma Elohim et na'akatam, vayizkor Elohim et brito, et Avraham et Yitzchak ve'et Yaakov. God heard the cry of our people in Egypt. God remembered the covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. V'ne'emar v'zacharti et briti Yaakov, ve'af et briti Yitzchak, ve'af et briti Avraham ezkor, ve'ha'aretz ezkor. Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob. I will remember also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. Having asked God to remember these moments in our history, we also want to think about the role that remembrance plays in our own lives. And so now is a good moment to take out your journal prompts again, to sit down with your family and to ask, what do you want God to remember from this past year? I invite you to sit down with your families, pause the video, take a few moments to discuss, and when you're ready, unpause, and we'll hear the sound of the shofar a second time.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah Gedolah.
Having again heard the sound of the shofar, we again sing a Reshet Sifatenu, this time changing the last word to Zichronotenu, because we just completed the Zichronot section of our service. Reshet Sifatenu Ya'arav Lefanecha El Ram Venisa. Reshet Sifatenu Ya'arav Lefanecha El Ram Venisa. Mevinu Mazin Mabit Umakshiv Lekol Tekiah. Tekiatenu utkabel berachamim berachamim uvratzon seder zichronotenu The third section that we add to this special part of the Rosh Hashanah Musaf service is the Shofarot section. Here we recall passages from the Tanakh, from the Bible, that mention the shofar, including Psalm 150. I hope you'll sing along with me from home. Hallelujah, 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 El Bekodsho, hallelujah, Birkia Uzo, hallelujah, Vigvurotav, hallelujah, Kerov Gudlo, hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, benevel vechinor, hallelujah, betof umachol, hallelujah, beminim beugav, hallelujah, 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 betzilt leishama, hallelujah, betzilt leitrua, kol haneshama tehallelya, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. With the shofar in mind, it's time to take our journal prompts out one more time. Sit down with your family, and having begun the Shofarot section of our service, the call to action, we ask ourselves, what is the shofar blast calling you to do in the coming year? I invite you to sit with your family again to discuss this question. Pause the video while you talk, and when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll hear that shofar blast, that call to action that will hopefully motivate us to do the things we want to do in this coming new year.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah Gedolah.
Having heard the third and final set of shofar blasts in the Rosh Hashanah Musaf Amidah, we sing Areshet Sifatenu one last time. הרשת שפתנו יערב לפניך אל רם ונישא. הרשת שפתנו יערב לפניך אל רם ונישא. מבין ומאזין, מביט ומקשיב לכל תקיע. תקיעתנו ותקבל ברחמים וברצון סדר שופרותינו.
As our services always end in the mornings with Adon Olam, because it is the High Holy Days, we sing a special melody that gets across the idea that this is a new year and that God is our sovereign, the one who rules over the universe. Adon Olam asher malach beterem ko yetzir nivra let nasa bechefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora. והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום מקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת תישן ועירה ואם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא אירא.
On behalf of myself, Rabbi Fell, Cantor Meir, Ronnie Gutton, and all of us at Temple Emanu-El, we want to wish you a Shana Tova Umituka. Thanks for joining us.